Back in 2003, I came across the website of the National Missing Persons Helpline, which is a charity here in the UK, which exists to fill a gap in state provision when someone goes missing. If someone goes missing and there's not definitely been a crime committed, then there's very little the police can do. And there's certainly very little support for families who were left behind. And the National Missing Persons Helpline runs a website and a call centre where people who've gone missing can send a message home and let their loved ones know that they're okay. It's also a kind of gallery. There's a sort of gallery of faces on their website where you can just browse the pictures of these people, and there's loads of them. And it was just instantly kind of captivated me who these people were and where had they gone and why had they gone missing. And I started to do a bit more research, and I found out that very few of them are down to abduction or kind of a forced disappearance of some kind, which you might assume. There was a study conducted by the University of York which showed that 2/3 of people who they managed to trace who'd gone missing said they did it deliberately. And not only that, but that in the UK every year 200,000 people are reported missing to the police. And most of those turn up within 48 hours, but there's a good 20 to 30,000 who don't. And you never really hear about that. I mean, that's the size of a small town, if you think about it. And it's never really reported, but it's kind of an epidemic. I thought it was anyway. And I became very interested in why people would do this, and not just why, but how. How did they pull it off? How easy is it to just walk out of your life? And it turns out it's actually very easy indeed. And there's even guidebooks out there that will tell you how to do it. So a bit more research uncovered books like The Modern Identity Changer and How to Disappear Completely and Never Be Found, which are both American guidebooks to how to change your identity, published by these kind of rather dodgy underground publishers who also publish books on how to make your own weapons and surviving in the wild and things like that. A play idea started to form about someone who had done this, but I quite quickly realised that the obvious focus of looking at the family who've been left behind is actually the least interesting. As you know, as awful as those people's situation is, dramatically, it's the least promising because they're effectively passive. There's not much they can do but sit and wait. And I wanted to find the people who'd actually done this and follow them on their journey. So I started to do some more research, and I I wrote to the Missing Persons Helpline, and they were really helpful and gave me an interview. And a woman there who worked for them in their press office, I asked her if there was a type of person that she and the helpline sees coming through their books time and time again. And she said yes, white male, late 20s, early 30s, probably works in the private sector, high stress job, high stress lifestyle, makes decent money, but probably works long hours, maybe has a coke problem or something like that going on in the background, overnight just disappears. I also went to see the Met Police in London, and they talked about how many bodies are pulled out of the Thames every year. Their job is to, from the opposite end of the story, if you like, when a body turns up without any ID and they don't know who it was, and they have to work out their identity. And they told me that 80 bodies a year are taken out of the Thames. Again, you never really hear about them. And most of them are young men. So that's really where the story of Charlie in the play started to form. But very quickly, with a subject matter like that, I kind of got into quite existential territory about what makes up an identity anyway. Is it just your ID, in which case you can change it quite easily? this cottage industry would have you believe that's all it takes. But is it something more than that? Is it your memories and your upbringing? And so can you ever disappear from that? Is it the identifying marks on your body which a pathologist might identify you through? So it seemed to tap into something quite interesting, and that's where it all started. And the fractured form of the play is a response really to trying to address in a meaningful way that quite philosophical subject.